Okay, good. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Math and Science Academy Board of Directors meeting. It is Tuesday, September 23rd, 2025. And I'm going to call this meeting to order at 6:03 p.m. Before we do anything else, I want to quickly acknowledge and welcome our two student representatives who are here with us today, Sega Sabatu and Ryan Cunningham. And they're going to join us for the year, and I was wondering if you young men wanted to say one possibly thing about yourself, a fun fact, or something we should know about you. Can you introduce yourselves?
My name is Sega Sabatu. Fun fact about me is my favorite was lasagna.
Sounds good.
My name is Ryan Cunningham, and fun fact about me is I have a cat named Fat Cat.
And is it fat?
Not anymore.
Okay. Working it out, good. That's awesome. Thank you, guys. So, welcome to you, thanks for being here. And Sega, would you read for us our vision tonight? We're gonna read our vision and mission.
The vision is to be an innovative, sustainable model of academic excellency for all students that creates well-rounded, lifelong learners and global citizens.
Thank you. And Ryan, would you read our mission tonight?
The mission of MSA is that we provide accelerated and inclusive curricula and instruction in all subjects with an emphasis on math and science.
Thank you. And our land acknowledgement is that we would like to acknowledge that the land on which we gather is the land of the Ocheti Shakuin, the Seven Council Fires, and of the Bidawankaton band. The existence of the Dakota Oyati have lived in this area since time immemorial, and before the U.S. war was created and the state of Minnesota was created. They lived within Minnesota, Wisconsin, Illinois, and Michigan. They were caretakers of the land and lived in harmony. They belonged to the land and the land did not belong to them. It is within our responsibility, MSA's responsibility as an academic institution, to disseminate knowledge about Indigenous people and their history and relationship with this land. MSA works to build a relationship with Indigenous students and their families through academic pursuits and historical recognition. We'll do roll call members. Kari Kerner, here. Brian Linsmeyer.
Here.
Sarah Harms.
Here.
Jen Nice. Not here, I think she went home ill. Isaac Leonardi.
Here.
Leanne Ahmed.
Here.
Mary Yap.
Here.
Maggie Bafrui.
Here.
Sega Sabatu.
Here.
And Ryan Cunningham.
Here.
Thank you. Next up, I did not receive any open forum, so we'll move on from that. Number 5, do we have a motion to approve tonight's agenda?
I move to approve tonight's agenda.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Is there any conversation about the agenda? Any questions? Mary?
I would, as I brought up to you last week, and I now found the documentation, I would like to remove the annual report and place it under discussion.
Okay.
Do you mean action item number 11?
Well, it's gonna need to be voted on, but it needs to be discussed, so yes, I guess it would go under 11A, or 11B.
Okay. The annual report is something that we put out every year. It has to be into Minnesota Department of Education by October 1st. And within the annual report is mostly facts about MSA, the 24-25 school year. The point in question, I think, is the budget, the financial piece.
That's the big piece, but when I brought it up, I had 3 items. I'm willing to forgo one of them. The administrative staff addition that I had asked for, that was approved for her to be a supervisor and the business office manager on, in the June 2024 minutes and on that agenda. So she really should be listed there on this report. And there's a budget figure that we have no backup to find out about, because it's not matching what I
So
have.
we
Okay,
can, because you can pull consent, if something from consent for any
Okay.
reason. So we don't need to have the discussion now.
Oh,
We can
okay.
just pull it
Thank
and
you.
then we don't need to talk about
Okay.
why.
Okay, so we'll pull consent, and then should we put it into an action item, or should we,
It can be an action item.
okay, we'll add it, I'm gonna put it in as A, for action items, and if that's okay. And then we'll push, the election of a new teacher to B.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments about tonight's agenda? All right, all in favor of approving the agenda with the one piece pulled out? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Thank you. Are there any conflicts of interest tonight with our agenda? We'll move on. Thank you. With not hearing conflicts of interest, we'll move on. The next item would be approve the minutes from our August 26th meeting. Is there a motion to approve the August 26th agenda, or I'm sorry, meeting minutes?
I'll so move.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
I'm sorry, who seconded?
Leanne, any discussion? Okay, we'll vote then. All in favor of approving the minutes from 8/26? Aye. Opposed? Abstain. All right, motion passes. Next, we have board recognition. It's kind of what we like to do is recognize the great people behind the scenes at MSA that we don't always see all the wonderful things that are happening. So tonight we're going to recognize our web leaders. And Jennifer Nice is the leader of that group. And she's not here this evening. So would you like to, Dr. Hinton, talk about them?
So we selected, recognizing our web leaders. It's the first year we've added web to our, we had a link crew before. This is a little bit different. And our web leaders spent the entire first day of school with our sixth graders, mentoring them and helping them adjust to school life. And it was a huge success. Our sixth graders really look up to the high school students like they are rock stars, which they are, but they are, really appreciate the mentoring, and Ms. Nice spent a lot of time, they came in the summer to train and be ready to mentor our sixth graders, and they have committed to a year-long service to work with our sixth graders. So we wanted to thank them and really recognize the work that they did helping our students transition into middle school. It's a hard transition coming from elementary school, and our sixth graders come from all over, so many of them don't know each other coming in. So it makes a really nice opportunity for them to really feel, really embraced as a school. So I want to thank our web leaders who are here tonight. Not everyone was able to make it, but if you want to stand up and be recognized, and then we'd like to take a picture of you with the board.
Web leaders and-
Thanks, guys, appreciate you guys doing that. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I'm sorry, thank you. Thanks, guys. Shut down.
And if you want to just come on back over this way, maybe over here, and then we'll get your picture.
Can you go over this way, so not, or is it in the background?
It's, we can stand around here. Just go right here. I say Kate is there. Guys on that angle.
Or we can just move the chair back.
Our students.
That's wonderful, thank you, web leaders. All right, next is the consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I move to approve the consent agenda.
And is there a second?
I can second.
Any conversation on the consent agenda? We've already pulled the annual report down to an action item. Second call for any comments? All right, all in favor of approving tonight's consent agenda, aye? Aye. Opposed? Abstain? Motion passes. Thank you. All right, next we're gonna do our reports. So usually our student representatives will start out with a report of kind of what's going on with the student body. So I don't know if you had a chance to bring anything in tonight, guys, anything you wanna share right now? I'm like, oh, it's okay.
We have a couple things. One thing I've heard a lot about is, well, most students don't really like the phone policy. Granted, it was necessary, but there's just been a little bit more disruption in class because of students not having their phones. They're looking for other ways to be entertained, so they're in turn more so searching for that by
Mhm.
disrupting their classrooms. But I don't know what we could do to prevent that, but
Sounds like it might be an adjustment period of
yeah.
sort of time to just sort of adjust, right? Yes, I know, that happens. Anything else that's happening? Does everyone seem to be enjoying back to school otherwise?
One thing I'd like to add is with homecoming coming up, many students have come, like from last year's homecoming, there was a complaint about the DJ not taking requests, which I know we're not allowed to do, is that's why we have to do a form
Mhm.
to send it for it, but there was many students who complained about the DJ, so I think one concern is it gonna be, I don't know if you have the answer right now, but is the DJ going to be the same as last year's, or are we gonna have a new one?
That's a great question, and I don't know the answer to that. That would be a management sort of kind of question, whoever is in charge of the homecoming, putting that on.
Ms. Kirkowski would know who we contracted with, I don't know offhand.
Be great. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, well, thank you. Well, at our next meetings, we'll look forward to hearing reports about how the homecoming dance was, and hopefully it was fun, and other things, you know, anything you want to report on, sporting events, bands, orchestra, any other club activities would be great to hear about. Thank you. All right, the board report is next. So, a couple things, I guess, to highlight from the board report. We had a workshop on, I think it was that September 9th. Thank you, and I know Maggie was unable to be present, so it's really interesting. It was just a kind of a chance to review. We reviewed our one-year plan. We talked a little bit about some timing of things like the election committee. And everything here, let's keep in mind too, was before we knew that we were approved for elementary expansion. So our discussions were based on as is right now. So things will change as we try to adapt to a larger school community. But yes, we talked with the election committee, and then we also reviewed the 3-year plan, and it's kind of broken into some groups and reviewed the 5 different areas that we have and what that would look like as we go forward to next year. And then there was a group that met on, I think it's right, September 16th, to start the strategic planning for the fall. And that group spent a lot of time kind of looking back historically at things that were done. I was not there, but I understand they made sort of a story wall, and they kind of looked at MSA's history and our culture and what a rich culture it is, and how we've done a really great job of overcoming, the obstacles that come up. We really are able to overcome those. And then, of course, all the successes that come up and how we can keep nurturing that. Some other key messages that came from the storyboard and from that group meeting were that we do keep moving forward because we know we are and can be successful. We value that we are smart, we're a smart school, we're smart people, and we do well. And I think what I heard over and over from different people is that kind of what makes MSA special and unique is that we have really high beliefs and expectations with our students and with our staff. So, because we expect these things and these things are what happen, so it sounds like it was a really productive meeting. Oh, and then one thing I forgot to mention, at our workshop, Dr. Tarks came and he shared with us his proposed, the beginning plans for elementary and what that elementary school would look like. And it's a huge undertaking to be the person who's creating a brand new school. And he is doing it with some amazing vision and enthusiasm and some really great things planned, so I'm excited about that. So, Kate, do you have a report for us?
Yep, so I'll start with an expansion report. As you've already heard, we got our elementary approval from our authorizer, Sam, on Friday. They're currently finishing all the paperwork up with MDE. There's a submittal process that they have to go through as the final check. The decider, my understanding in statute, is the authorizer, but the Department of Education needs to do a fair amount of paperwork to be able to finish off that process, so that should take anywhere between 30 to 45 days, is my understanding. It could take longer, it could take less, it just depends on how things go. We are going to have a town hall for elementary school on October 9th. We've finally been able to set that date at 6 o'clock in the Great Hall. We believe it's gonna be the Great Hall. We're gonna try and gauge attendance. Last time we had an elementary event in the Great Hall, we had to take out all the tables and people still had to stand. So we're gonna try and get an idea of the numbers before we determine the room. So hopeful that we can do it in the Great Hall. May not work out in there. We may have to move to the gym. I was out at the new building this morning. Very exciting, a lot of progress over there. They're putting the HVAC on the roof the week of October 6th. This is an important milestone because depending on how much of the units you can see from the road will determine how much screening we have to put around, and the screening is extremely expensive. So we are hopeful that we do not need much. I've been spending more time looking at HVAC units on roofs than I ever thought I would be around town. So it seems to be quite a mixed bag in Woodbury in terms of what's been required. So I'm hopeful we're on the, we're hopeful that the HVAC units are gonna be placed on the roof in a way that it's hard to see it from the ground. The three-story part of the building is the part that they're the most worried about. The gym and cafeteria area, the expanse is so large that it would be hard to see it from the ground. But the three-story part is a little narrower and it might be a little easier to see it. The week of October 15th, they're putting in a parking lot and curbing. We were hoping to get that in later this week, but the 5 inches of rain that fell this weekend messed up some of the prep work. So they're gonna have to redo some of that because literally this weekend, it was a pond out there. We still have some random ponds out there that aren't part of our regular ponding. It's quite popular amongst local geese. There are probably 50 geese out there swimming around, or at least there were this morning. They are framing the 3rd floor, so when you go up on the 3rd floor, you can actually see classrooms now. And so hopefully they'll be starting that sheetrock up there shortly. Most of the HVAC, like vents are up there in the ceiling. But it's really cool. It really starts to feel like you can start to see that it feels like a school inside. Most of the windows are on the 3rd floor. They only have a couple out right now so that they can move items in through the window on this big forklift thing that they've got. They're gonna pour the concrete on the 1st floor so that floor, that's the last floor to go in the 3-story addition of the building. So that's gonna go in on Friday and on Monday. So that's pretty exciting. And then we'll have town halls for the existing families, so we're gonna try and break the elementary town hall and the secondary just to try and contain the space and the needs of our current families. The questions that they might have are gonna be different than what our elementary families would be interested in and curious about. So we're gonna, we've got those dates tentatively scheduled for October 28th, February 10th, and May 7th. We'll send out an announcement probably in the next week or so, inviting people at least to the October 28th one. We just have to make sure that we've got the space all booked for that, but that's when we are looking forward to doing that. So that's the expansion update. Does anybody have any questions on expansion at this point? Yeah. We're hoping to take the staff out next Monday. We have professional development on Monday, and so I think after the YMCA is coming to do a presentation, an equity presentation. I wanted to bring the staff out at like 3:00, but they don't like to work that late out there, so they're like, well, we'll stay, and I was like, well, when would be better? So we'll do it a little earlier in the day so that we don't need to keep our workers late. So, yes.
Kate, would it be possible for board members to join you on Monday if we're able?
Sure. I can let you know the exact time when I nail it down. It's probably gonna be around 11:30. Yeah, so if you'd like to come out, you have to wear long pants, closed shoes. Those are the rules on
Requirements.
site. And you probably wanna wear shoes that, can get muddy. Because they will get muddy, so don't, if you come out in your heels, they're not gonna look nice when we're done, so. Yep. All right, yes,
For the expansion plan, are we hiring more teachers?
yes.
Are we getting any more, cause one of the things students have really been struggling with is, and us personally, having a guidance counselor. We know Gravine is trying her hardest, but with the sheer volume of how many students, especially now with the expansion plan and how many more students there will be, are we getting more counselors? Cause
We expect to double our counseling staff. I mean, it's a phased approach because the student population will grow over 2 years. But, right now, Minnesota has the highest counselor to student rates, some of the highest rates in the nation, and the average is about 300 students per guidance counselor. We're exceeding that right now in high school, so that's absolutely something that we're gonna be working on. In addition, mid-year, November, December-ish, we're gonna hire a guidance clerk who will take on a lot of the paperwork that Ms. Gravine has to do, because we have probably certainly the highest per capita PSEO rates in the state. I'm sure we're higher than, we've got more PSEO students in East Ridge, and East Ridge is significantly larger than we are. That will help with some of the testing and try and relieve some of that pressure, but that's not gonna be enough. So in our plan, we will add at least one more guidance counselor and potentially a social worker. We just gonna have to kind of see what the needs are. Social workers are a little harder to hire right now than guidance counselors, but we'll see. But we will certainly have more guidance staff.
alright, thank you.
Okay. As for the regular ED report, I just wanna go through some of the data that is in, the, annual report. So I was just really excited to present the, ACT data. Caitlin, are you able to put that up on the screen? Sorry for those of you behind you.
Yeah, sorry about me.
So, the ACT data is written in two different ways. There's the graphs, and then there's just a table that shows how our students did. But I'm very excited to say that our ACT scores were the highest in the state. Our students of all races did incredibly well. And our gaps are pretty tight. There's some places where black students have outscored our white students. And all of our students exceeded, or all of our averages exceeded any of the groups within the state, both the statewide average and the averages within MSA. So our students did incredibly well. The composite breakdown, some people look at it, think a table is a little easier to see, so it's written there in a table as well. So we're very proud of our students. We do not have the 25 data yet. We expect to get that next month. Typically it comes in October. Students have the data, but the compiled data we don't have yet. And then the other data that I wanted to bring forward is the MCA data. Our students did incredibly well. Overall, we were 80.5% proficient in reading, 71.7% proficient in math. Our white students were 93% proficient in reading and 84.5% proficient in math. Asian students did well as well. It did well as well. Sorry, a lot of wells in there. And our black students outscored their peers by nearly double. So, and exceeded the state averages in both categories. And then by comparison, there's the statewide data, which is listed there. And then 833's district data is very similar to the state data. So we exceeded our home district by, at the smallest point, 12%, at the largest point, over 36.8%, ahead of our local district. In some cases, I mean, we did close to twice as well as them. So we're very proud of our students. We do have the differences, the difference between MSA and 833, and then the differences between MSA and the state in terms of data there. So our students are doing well. The science data has been delayed. There was a limited release of embargo data last week. We expect the rest of the data to be publicly released in October. So that's very late, about 6 months past when we typically at least see preliminary data. But it's a brand new test, so I think they're still trying to norm it, or at least that's what they're saying. So hopefully, I can't predict how we're gonna come out really. I mean, we only tested 8th graders last year because of the move of biology into 10th grade. So we won't have any high school science scores this year, just 8th grade. Yep.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's really worth celebrating that we have really great composite scores and we see a lot of success. But when we talk about disparities and equity, we really need to be careful. And when we compare the disparities between the experience and the outcomes of students in our school who may identify as white or black, and there are some widening disparities there. And so without acknowledging it, then we don't come up with solutions. So I'm just wondering if you put in some thought as to the widening gap on the math scores.
So the math scores, what we have been working on is in our middle school, we're doing intervention. So we have our students who were not proficient. And we also took some other measures, because just taking just one test, which is a snapshot in one day, we took that data and then classroom data for the students who were here last year. Some students we didn't have last year, so we don't have that data. And then our middle school teachers did their fast bridge testing the first week, particularly in math right away, so that we could identify students and put them into math intervention. We added a new curriculum, it's called Math 180. So there's several components to it to identify gaps and then fill those gaps. So just by identifying where the student needs additional support and then working through that. We currently, I believe we have around, Sarah, would you say about 20 kids in the first semester and 20 in second semester right now going through that program. So we're hopeful that we'll see some gains there. And that's not necessarily students selected based on their race or ethnicity, but their need, which, given the fact that there's some gaps in the scores, we would see a higher proportion of the students of the racial backgrounds that we're struggling. And this is a hard chunk of data to really look at. We've disaggregated it much more with our staff in terms of by grade level too, because the grade levels are quite different. So we see it varies by each grade level, but we're trying to get those gaps closed up in middle school to address them further on in high school. So although we're not necessarily bringing all of that data at this meeting, the math department and then admin staff is really digging through that. For the math, we're also doing that in the literacy as well.
I don't remember, with the new system that we've moved from into, it's the Infinity, is that the new system?
Infinite Campus.
Infinite Campus, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of ways that parents can be engaged and become involved with tracking grades, and
Mhm.
there's like instant messaging now, which is
Mhm.
pretty cool. I wondered if we offered tutorials to parents and how to access that system and how to be supportive of tracking grades and being an integral part to catching some of the issues that you're saying, that teachers are, have a large role in catching, but what can be the role of parents and how can we support them to better understand?
So that was something we talked about quite a bit last night at PTO. So the PTO, we're also, this is a new system for our parents and for our staff. But what we wanted to initially even start out with is just some tips every week for how to more effectively use the technology that we have for staff or for students. So we're gonna try to, because at first we talked about, if we give too much, then it's just gonna be overwhelming and it won't stick. So we're thinking if we have one new thing every week that parents can try out. Because there is a lot in there, as you said, there's just a lot of technology, a lot of data. We will have the test scores uploaded in there. They're not in there yet, but they will be there. And within a score, like in math, there's different strands as well. So there's a lot of data that can be
And
disaggregated in there.
averages, median averages, so you
Yeah.
can see how your peers are doing.
Yeah.
I just wanna make sure that in our celebration of our, good outcomes and good
Mhm.
numbers as a whole, that we're not overlooking the fact that we're seeing a widening gap. And that is disaggregating the data over year after year by race is important, and we should have goals around that, and I think we do.
Yeah.
It'd be
So,
nice to
no,
hear that
and-
report out on what our strategies are.
Yeah. And it's interesting to see, how, if you take a look at, even if we go back and look at the ACT data, by 11th grade in math, our average black score is 24.17, and our average white score is 25.1 or 25.41. So the gaps do close, it just takes time and effort to really dig in and take a look at those, but it is important to continuously review the data.
Anything else, Dr. Hinton, in your ED report?
No, we will have some more, we'll have science scores, and I'm hoping to have a little bit of an update on, for the community to share out where we are with our elementary planning, and then we are also gonna be continuously working probably through November and develop a staffing plan, and just some initial lists of electives that will be added for our secondary. That'll come back probably in November.
Exciting.
Yeah.
That's a lot. Great, thank you.
Isaac, did you have a question?
Yeah, just like a general first month of school question. Has there been anything done to get teacher feedback on the welcome back training week?
No, I don't believe that they did a survey after each session. So no, I don't believe that there's been much on that, and it's a little late to do it now. But no, we did not do a survey. But that was something that, as an admin team, we talked about afterwards, is like, what else can we do? There was some feedback that we received around, this is getting into the weeds for those of us who weren't there, but we do nuts and bolts typically, which is just like procedures. That's typically the, before we have our back to school night. Some of the feedback that we got, that was a little overwhelming. It's a lot of stuff right before, and because we extended our back to school night, typically we're able to do it in about an hour, hour and a half, and then there's a hour or two that staff have to kind of prepare for back to school night, because back to school night started at 2 or 2:30. Yeah, that cut that time short, which really caused us to have to compress our nuts and bolts, and in order to give teachers a chance to like eat lunch and have a breath before the onslaught of families came. That was a bit much. Back to school week is gonna have to look significantly different next year because of the amount of people we'll be onboarding, so we're likely, gonna be back to school weeks, 2 weeks probably, just with that in the moving and the setting up of all the classrooms and everything. So there will be some significant changes next year for back to school week, which I think gives us opportunities to have less packed into the days, because we try and pack in a lot of training in 4 days, which sometimes can be overwhelming. So we'll have more days, I believe, next year, which is the plan. And I think that that's something that the calendar committee is also starting to look at, because I believe they've already started meeting, or they will soon, so.
All right, thank you. Finance committee report.
Yeah,
Sarah?
the finance committee met on September 18th, so the last Thursday, in the morning at 8 a.m. So yeah, a little bit hectic of a start there, but we went over our August financials, kind of at the start, or the September kind of we had. So our ADM was 724. Again, that number will be fluctuating as our amount of students actually settle. We still have some coming in, some leaving. So there'll be some adjustments. We'll see that next month. Our cash on hand was 108, so we met our bond covenants. Our debt service ratio was 1.08, which was above our bond covenant of 1.0. There was a question on it should have changed to 1.2. I don't know if we heard back from Dustin about that yet.
I think that you can meet one or the other. Like, I met with him this morning, he
Didn't say anything about that.
I think that we were having trouble with that.
Okay, yeah, our revenues that we received, 15.5% of our working budget, our expenditures were 10.7. There's a few items that, we did point out that seemed higher than usual, so our instructional supplies, it was at 104.6% of our amount, and the reason behind that was there was some curriculum that went in as instructional supplies instead of instructional curriculum. So we were getting that recoded, and it should hopefully balance out to a more normal number of less than 100%. And then there was also another item that I believe was,
I think it was the.
the HVAC went in the wrong spot. So
Yeah.
that one, also our building, I don't know, insurance kind of amount was off for that, but it will get recoded and hopefully be better for next month. Yep. But yeah,
Remind me, do we need to vote to approve the minutes, or are we?
We don't
Not
vote
the
to approve the
minutes.
minutes, we approve the
sorry, the-
reports.
So should we do it for September then?
Yeah.
yeah. Unless there's
Okay.
any questions about,
One other thing, we did have our campus conversion was supposed to go into last year, but because of the way they dated the invoice and the work was all done in the fiscal year 25, but because they didn't bill us until fiscal year 26, that came into this year instead of last year. But we're still working through getting all that cleaned up.
Any questions?
yeah.
Just isn't the other so the other update is the June and July financials are still getting finalized.
Yes,
And we'll
we
report on
have-
those later.
Yeah, we have preliminary, June or July,
We have preliminary June,
and it's,
yeah, and so, I'm sorry.
No,
Oh,
you can go.
okay, because I asked him about that this morning. There's still some, little bit of chaos at the department right now in terms of sorting out our sped funding, which is why the June financials are not finalized. They expect, this is not a MSA alone problem. So creative planning's got a lot of schools that they're still trying to work through that. Hopeful that it'll be done. It needs to be done before they can do the audit. And we probably will not get July reports because they're just so few, items in there, so, but the June, we're still waiting on.
So can you say more about the audit?
What?
What is the audit and? is
So
it annual?
every year we have to do an audit, it's required by law, but it's also good practice, so, that typically begins at some point in October. Usually those reports come back in November, sometimes December, it has to be submitted to the Department of Education by Jan 1. So, they are on a crunch to try and figure out those, the last of the June stuff, but that's taking a little longer.
So do we have a motion to approve the September financial reports?
We'd call them August finance.
August, we on. August, you said August, I'm sorry. We have a move to approve the August financial report.
I can move to approve the August financials.
Is there a second?
I will second that motion.
Any other discussion? I've heard. All in favor of approving the August financial report? Opposed? Abstained? Okay, motion passes. Okay, thank you. All right, we'll move on then. We have 2 action items. We'll move to letter A, the annual report. So first of all, is there a motion to approve the annual report for the 24-25 school year?
I move to approve the annual report.
Is there a second?
I can second.
Discussion, any comments on the annual report? Mary?
I'd like to look at, page 6 first, we'll go over, page 6, page 4 first.
Okay, on page 4, you are looking at the school management team.
Under the management team, in June of 2024, the board voted to, in the HR report, which was in the consent agenda, that Shawnee Holt would be the district operations supervisor. HR and finance and such. And that should be under the management team.
So we don't, consider that management, that's, she's, still is within the clerical unit. She does help organize our clerical staff, but she doesn't, solely supervise any staff members at our school, so, we're still having her in the, and she's considered administrative staff, which is in the clerical unit.
Okay. Thank you for that. And then on page 21 of 52, and I did go back and I looked at previous annual reports, which in that, so according to our authorizer contract, this needs to be based on last year, but in the previous annual reports, we had talked about how the next fiscal year would start with this fund balance and such. Given the fact that we have not seen the June financial reports, I struggle with the, because I'm looking in past, it says fiscal year, like 2 years ago, fiscal year 2025. Well, started with an annual fund balance, and then it's projected to grow to this amount. This should read then, based on previous financial reports, that fiscal year 2026, which is what we're in now, started with this balance, and then based on the approved balance, the general fund is projected to grow to whatever that is. But without the June financial report, that can't go in here, or I don't feel comfortable passing that. And based on, like I said, I've gone back, I've looked through previous, I've also looked at our contractor, or our contract with our authorizer, and it needs to be based on last year, so everything in here, but then, like I said, we base everything else. There's a line in there talking about what the projected budget overage will be at the end of this upcoming year, and what are, so I'm just bringing through the inconsistencies there based on what has been done in the past and the fact that we don't have it. And I get it that we don't have the June.
Mhm.
I just really struggle with putting anything in there regarding that.
The number that is in there, so, right, we don't have the June report, that's out of our control, or that's an MDE issue. We have to have this in the MDE by October 1st. The number that we have in there is from, based on,
We have to have it to Sam by October 1st, isn't it?
no. this
Yeah,
is
well,
the
we
same.
give it to Sam, but then she
Oh.
submits it, they submit
okay,
it to
okay.
MDE, so it goes, but it has to get there. What I propose we do to correct this is we go with what it is right now. When we get the final numbers, we, in October, pass an addendum where we can add on
Sure.
the, correct, the finalized number. Cause by the October board meeting, it has to be done, because we can't do our audit. So, I mean, but we can't,
Can we notate in there somewhere that,
if the
We're
board
missing the
is
June?
comfortable with me coming back through and saying, this is what we have on our, and because we do have some financials from June, they're just not correct, they're not done. There's still errors in them, I can say that this is what we have at this point, and this is what we're projecting, and we expect an addendum in
I can support
October,
that,
I can add that in there if that's,
I can support that, yeah.
if that's fine, that this is what we have right now, this
Yeah,
is our best,
yeah.
our best information.
A point of clarification, we would note that we have incomplete, or we would note projected numbers based on non-finalized.
Yes, so it would be, you know, like, yes, fine.
So we would be asked tonight to vote on, and without seeing those projected numbers though.
Tonight we'd be asked to vote, we would make an amendment for Kate to change the wording. And then we would vote on the motion, the entire approving of the report. And then in October, the addendum would be added and we would vote on that. Is that correct?
I mean, we can approve it like it is now and do an addendum, or I can make that note that we will, that it's,
Did you bring the numbers for June, or I'm struggling too with approving an annual report, which is a board responsibility for numbers that we haven't seen or projected numbers we haven't
well,
seen.
these numbers are from the projected reports, that, I mean, that's where that number came from. And we keep getting more updated ones, but I would prefer, before we go through and I would suggest that we take with what we have so far. We approve it, cause we have to have it in there, we can't remove it. So we have to have something in there. It is the best, it's the most complete number that we have at this time. We do expect it to change though.
So we
So,
would amend with a notation that this is projected based on trends but not finalized and would.
Well, we could, or we could just, I think what Kate's saying is we could just approve as is. Because it's going to be amended any way you look at it. I mean, if that's what, when the numbers come in.
it will be amended
be
because
amended.
because it's not
Yeah,
correct.
Right,
It's
so,
not,
so we would approve it as is, if it, with those numbers, those are numbers that are the best that we have right now to provide. And then we would provide the given ones from the June report when that comes. Gary?
With the increased scrutiny
Mm-hmm.
that charter schools have been under. And with, just with government spending in general.
Mhm.
That is coming under a lot of scrutiny right now. I feel more comfortable having the notation in there. Because then it says we as a board know that these aren't finalized numbers. And I know, unfortunately, Kate, I know that means a little bit more work for you.
well, it's not that big,
But
I
I
mean, it won't
just-
be too big of a deal to
I
type a
just-
sentence in there. I mean, I'm not too worried about that as long as the board's
Because the
okay.
problem is that if the state looks at this
Mhm.
and they don't, and we don't have that in there, they don't know that anything else is coming. And that's what we wanna make sure of. We wanna make sure that we are as transparent as we possibly can be with our authorizer, with the state and MDE, if we don't want to have the thought that we're misleading anybody, is my thought.
I'm fine with adding that sentence on there. I'll go back through and add that before I submit it.
All right, so, we would pass the motion to amend, correct?
Mhm.
And then we would pass the motion to approve.
Yeah,
Be
to,
amended.
to approve an amended annual
Okay.
report that I would amend prior to submission.
Others, Maggie, do you have any, you can pass, or any other thoughts on this topic, questions?
No, I recognize and acknowledge, I think it's a great call out, so I appreciate you bringing it up. And I think this is a good solution.
Sarah, any thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, are the numbers gonna change drastically? Do we have, I mean,
I
it's
expect
close,
that,
but-
cause I, when I talked to Justin this morning, I expect about $100,000+ swing to the positive, so that it's significant. It is a significant change.
Then I would say make a note that that is not.
I mean, it's not, if it was just a few $100 or a couple thousand,
Wouldn't be as
I don't
big.
think that anyone would really bat an eyelid. I think
Okay.
this will require an addendum.
Okay.
Brian?
Excuse me.
Students, you're welcome to voice questions. You realize, of course, you do not vote at the end, but your questions go right ahead.
Yes, within the note, where we say that the data is incomplete, because like you were saying, it is not just a small amount that it's gonna increase by, and instead of saying it's projected to be this amount, if it's gonna swing that amount and our projection is wrong, I feel like it should be marked as incomplete instead of as this is our projected number.
So there's two different things here. The projected is always going to be projected because that's the expected end fund balance at the end of the year. The end of year amount is what we're waiting for the final number on. The projected number, I don't expect to change that.
Okay.
I mean, it'll change because the starting number will change, so the ending number will change, but it's always gonna be projected at that point.
Brian,
Yeah.
any thoughts?
Yeah, no, I support with the addendum. I think knowing that we recognize that we're incomplete, we know we're incomplete and it's out of our hands. So Kate, I don't think that's anything on you, but as stuff's coming in, I think, again, with validity of we know it's there, it should go up. We're not gonna also be broke, which is good. So thus recognizing that, I mean, like I said, I'm fine with an addendum and going there saying, hey, we know this is it, but we know it's gonna change. So.
Isaac, anything?
Yeah, I think it's okay to add a note. At this point, though, like we always know it's till the audit comes, things are subject to change. So that's true every year, right?
Right.
So it's just there might be more of a change this year, but kind of at any year we have to wait till the audit for the final version.
Thank you for everyone's feedback. I appreciate everyone, sort of your ideas.
One other quick question.
What's that?
Will we also be putting in the long-range budget in this as we have in the past, or no?
So the long-range budget, probably not, just because we are working on it. So there's a couple different long-range budgets. I mean, I don't wanna go too far into the weeds, but, as part of our paperwork with our authorizer, they wanted some different scenarios, so now it's gonna be hard at this point to say which one we're gonna include, and I'm not including 2 or 3 of them in there, cause then that gets goofy too, so I think it's probably, best just to leave it out, it's not required to have it in there.
Okay, thank you, that's what I wanted to know.
Any other questions? So on the table then, oh yes, let's say that.
It's a different topic, but on the same page, for the future plans and program challenges, the biggest challenge, so the 5th challenge caught my eye, which says providing study spaces on campus for the numerous PSEO students that we have. I was wondering if that was a challenge we were planning on fixing this year, or would it be for when we transition to the new school?
At the new school, there's gonna be plenty of places to study, so that's not gonna be an issue, at least not for the first several years. Here though, it can be a lot, also just because it's hard for students to get on campus. If you didn't ride the bus here, parking is very difficult, so, that continues to be a struggle in this space.
Thank you for your input. All right, so on the table right now, we have, we need a motion to amend the annual report.
I move to amend the annual report.
Thank you. Is there a second?
And we'll second that.
Any other comments? All those who approve amending? Aye. Opposed? Abstain? All right, motion passes, so we will amend the annual report. So then we need a motion to approve the annual report with the amendments. So is there a motion to approve the annual report?
I move to approve the annual report
Second,
with the amendment.
with the amendment?
Yeah.
Yes, good, I was gonna say, let's not go back again.
Yeah.
I will second it with the amendment.
Okay. Any other questions? Comments? All in favor of approving with the amendment? Opposed? Abstained? The annual report passes with amendment. Good, thank you. All right. Okay, one more action item, this one should be fun. We have an open position on the board for a new teacher member, and we have a candidate who has stepped up to be on the board. So Mark Russell is here tonight. Mark provided to us a statement that you all had a chance to read. We're going to vote, but before we do, are there any questions that anyone else has for Mark? You think they could put him on the spotlight, ask him? I wanna know if your family loves going out with you on your adventures, or,
Most of the time,
Okay.
yeah. Sometimes it goes a bit long for them sometimes, but I just use them to tough it out and just get going,
Got it.
so.
fair enough. All right, so thank you, Mark, for stepping up to take this role. So I guess we need a motion to approve Mark Ressus. Or we vote first, or we motion, or what do we do?
I think you motioned to take the
I think
vote.
To take the vote, okay, that's, so we need a motion to vote on our teacher rep.
I move that we appoint Mark Gresseth as the new teacher board member for the remainder of a two-year,
Yeah, so.
two-year term.
Okay. Nicely worded, thank you. Second?
I'll second that.
Thank you. Any conversation or discussion?
I'll just say this, I'm ecstatic to see him applying for the board, finally. And I can vouch, he does bring his children and his family on adventures. We run into him many, many years ago, out at the Lake Elmo Airport. And it's good to see, it's always lovely to see, teachers with their families out in the community and so forth, so.
All right, so big vote. All who approve Mark Resnick as being elected to this position, aye. Opposed? Abstain. Motion passes. Mark, thank you.
Okay.
Welcome.
We'll get you filled in with things. Myself in here. So I think that's it. So we have some future board items for our next workshop and meeting. They're listed here. And of course, things will be added as we start thinking more and more about elementary expansion and all of the work that's going into that. Is there a motion to conclude tonight's meeting, to adjourn tonight's meeting?
I move, we adjourn.
Second?
I'll second.
I think we need to stop vote. Approval of adjourning the